Hello guys, my name is Anushka Tomar. Today in this video, I am going to discuss about clustering. Here we will discuss about gaming clustering, which is a type of clustering. Now first let's talk about what is clustering. Clustering is a technique in data mining which is used to group objects into clusters. So here, wait. Now we will discuss what is k-mean clustering. K-mean clustering is a unsupervised machine learning method which is used to divide set of object into k cluster. Here what we do, we divide object into cluster. Now let's wait. Now we will see how k-mean clustering works. So here first we have to initialize. First step is initialize, where we have to choose two random points from the data, which is our initial centroids, and let's say here C1 and C2, which is our initial centroid. Then we have to assign data points, for which we have to calculate each data points distance from centroid C1 and C2. Now assign the point to that cluster whose centroid is closest. Now third step is update centroid. We have to calculate new centroids by calculating the mean of points in each cluster. Now we have fourth step is repetition. Here we have to repeat steps 2 and 3 until the changes are minimal, until the centroid do not changes. Next is last step is stop, where we have to finalize the cluster. Now let's see an example. Here we have a question in which uh, there is a data set with coordinates of 5 points. We want to divide them into A is equal to 2 cluster. This is our data point. These are our data points. Here x coordinate is 1, y is 2, x is 1.5, y is 1.8. These are our x coordinates. These are our y coordinates. Now what we have to do? We have to choose any two coordinates as the centroids. 2 point as a centroid. Here we have choose A as a centroid and B as a centroid, which is our point C is our centroid. So this is point C. Now what we have to do, we have to calculate each data point distance from the centroids. We have to calculate this coordinate distance from this centroid, which is 0. Now we will calculate its distance from centroid 2, which is our 7.21, by using Euclidean distance formula between 2 points. Now we will do this for following coordinates. Same. Here we have coordinates 1.5, 1.8. Now we have to calculate distance from centroid 1, which is 0.4. Then we will calculate the distance from centroid 2, which is 7.2. We will do for other coordinates as we have done in this for this 2. Now what next step is, we have to assign cluster. For assign the cluster, we will see whose centroid is closest. So here 0. So we will assign it to cluster 1. Now here it's for centroid 2. Here it is minimum is 0. It will assign to cluster 2. Here minimum is 0.54. It will assign to cluster 1. Here what is whose centroid is closest? 3. So now this is assigned to the cluster 2. This is the dividation of cluster. This is the method how we divide these data points into cluster. So here we have two cluster 1 and cluster 2. Whose centroid for centroid 1, whose centroid is less, will assign to cluster C1, or it will assign to cluster C2 if it is closer to the centroid, if it centroid is closest. Now the next step is assignment after iteration 1. So here we have point A, B and E in cluster 1 and point C, D in cluster 2. Now what we have to do, we have to update the centroid. How we will do this? We will calculate new centroid by averaging the coordinates point of in each cluster. So here uh, we will calculate its average by using mean average. There, this is our coordinate x coordinate 1, 1.5, 1, which is divided by 3. These are our new centroid, which is 1.17 and 1.47. Now new centroid 2 for cluster 2, we have 6.5 and 8. Now what we have to do, we will reassign point based on latest centroid. So now our new centroids are 1.17 and 1.47 for C1, and distance to centroid 2 के अपनी 6.5 and 8 for C2. Now these are our coordinates. Now we have to calculate its distance from centroid, which is 0.54, 0.45, 7.12, 9.13, 0.93, and then we will calculate its distance from centroid 2, which is 7.5, 7.12, 12, 1.5, 1.5, 8.47. Now the next step is we have to assign cluster. So let's see which whose center is closest, 0 minimum. Then we will assign it to C1, cluster 1. In this, whose center is minimum, 0.45. So we will assign to cluster 1. Now whose center is minimum, 1.5, C2. So it will be assigned to cluster 2. And we will do same thing for other coordinates, other data points too. Now let's see, here we have new cluster points, which is for cluster 1 we have point A, B and E. For cluster 2 we have point C and D. Now we have seen that our cluster assignment remain the same. It means our final centroids are 1.17 and 1.47, 6.5 or 8. As we have seen, we have to update centroid until the centroid remains same. So now our final cluster result are points A 1, 2, V 1.5, 1.8 and E 1, 0.6. This is our final result for k-mean clustering on this data set. Thank you for watching my video. Here, this is the code for our k-mean clustering algorithm. In this, we have imported some library, that is NumPy, which is used to for numerical operation plotting, and also used pyplot as PLT, that is used for plotting. And we have imported a k-means sk.learn cluster, that is sk is the k-mean clustering algorithm. And from sklearn.ctr we have imported make vlog, which is used to create a sample data set. Now we have generated a random data set, that is x comma is equal to make blocks and sample, that is our sample 300, center is equal to 4, and cluster std is equal to 0.60, random state is 0. So now here it creates 300 data points, which is grouped into 4 cluster with a spread defined by a cluster std. In this, x hold the data points. Now we will visualize the generate data point. Flat.scatter x colon 0, x colon 1, s is equal to 50. Plt.title generated data point, and our x label is feature 1, y label is feature 2. Now we will show our point. So here, step we will plot the randomly generated points on 2D plane to show the data distribution, and each point represent one sample in the dataset. Now initialize k means model. So here k is equal to 4, which define the number of clusters, and k means is equal to k means and cluster is equal to k, which is like k mean with 4 cluster, and k means dot fit is in bracket we have written x that fit the k mean model to the data. So it initialize the k mean model with 4 cluster, and the fit method train the k mean model on the data set x. The algorithm iteratively updates centroid to minimize distance within the cluster. Now we will predict cluster for each one. Here assign each data point in x to one of the 4 cluster, and y k means hold the cluster level 0 to 3 for each data point. Now step 5 is plot the cluster with different color. So here plt dot scattered x0, x1, c is equal to y k means s is equal to 50, and c map viridis. So and plt dot title is equal to k mean clustering result. Our x label is feature 1, y label is feature 2. There it plots each data point with the colors corresponding to its cluster label. Different color represent different cluster. Now we will plot the centroid. So centroid is equal to k-mean dot cluster center. It will get the coordinates of the centroid. It means we can retrieve and plot the center of each cluster as red X marker and a ligand to it identify the cluster. Now the conclusion is each cluster represents a cluster of similar point, and the red X marker are the central point of each cluster. Now we will see the output of this code. The output is what? This is output our code here. This is our generated data point feature 1, feature 2. Here this is our also generated data k-mean clustering result. These are cluster. These are 4 cluster, and these are the data points. Small dots are data points. Now here k-mean successfully grouped data into meaningful cluster based on their features. So here we have separately grouped this 4 cluster data points into 4 cluster. So this is the output of our k-mean clustering. Here in this video, I have covered an important topic of clustering, which is a k-mean clustering algorithm. Here we have seen the output where there are some data set which is partitioned into 4 cluster. So it's all about today video. Now I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching my video.